Hi, I'm Jeff Cannon, President of Citizens Bank of Lawrence County. Is your bank outgrowing our community, or has your bank completely left our community? Here at Citizens Bank, we are a full-service financial partner. We offer everything from all types of deposit accounts, debit cards, online banking, to mortgage loans, 24-hour ATM, telephone banking, and commercial and consumer loans. We are home to Dublin-Lawrence County Student Advisory Council, which will be entering its 12th year this fall. We are large enough to offer all the products you want, but still small enough for you to receive the personal one-on-one service you deserve. Be watching this fall as we introduce some new products that will make banking with us even more convenient. Stop by and see us today and you'll discover why we are Dublin-Lawrence County's community people. Citizens Bank of Lawrence County, member FDIC, and an equal housing lender.
About our advanced ed report that we got way back from February, and we wanted to give that information and tell you the things that we're doing really well and the things that we really need to work on. With us this evening are our Associate Superintendent, Holly Deal, and she's worked with all federal programs throughout the years, and primarily now she works with elementary. You want to come in? She works with elementary curriculum and instruction and pre-K and whatever else we throw in that direction. And that's how we all function around here. Here we have Stacy Sanders, and she's our special education director, and Donna Sapp, who is our food service lady. She said that's the most fun place to be, is in lunch lady land, as she calls it. Dr. Travick just walked in the back. He's our associate superintendent. He covers our high school programs, CTAE, and he carries a couple of title programs here that you'll learn about this evening. And our guest this evening, our guest presenter, is Dr. Charlotte Pitkin. She's a retired superintendent for Bleckley County, and she is consulting with us now, working on our strategic plan. And we're very excited to have her wealth of information with us this evening. I'm going to turn the program over to Ms. Deal, and she'll kind of run through our federal programs for you.
We welcome you, and we appreciate your taking time from your busy evening. We know that time with your families and obligations that you have are quite full, and we appreciate your taking time for Lawrence County to come and listen to the things we have to share and give us your input this evening. I want to start by talking just briefly about No Child Left Behind. No Child Left Behind legislation came out in 2000. It was something enacted by the federal Congress. And it was passed in 2001, and although it's supposed to have been reauthorized a couple of times, due to some of the other issues that have been on the forefront at the national level, the reauthorization of No Child Left Behind has been pushed back. And so we're hoping that as we move forward, the law will be reauthorized. And what the law basically is doing is making sure that children have the best instruction that they can get by doing several things. What they found when they did a lot of surveys around the country is that parents weren't as involved in the child's education as they needed to be. So part of this legislation made it a mandate for local school systems to involve parents and incorporate parents, not just for the ball games and the fun plays and the things, the funsy things, but involve parents in the decision making that takes place at the school level and at the district level. With input from home and school, we can make our instruction stronger and stronger. So that's one of the purposes of the law. It also is to help give increased flexibility at the local level. We have federal funds that are available, but there are a lot of strings and guidance to that. And although sometimes it doesn't feel like we have a lot of flexibility, sometimes that federal fund has a lot of regulations with it, but it does allow us to have flexibility in how we can supplement what we're already doing to try to increase the opportunities for our students. I want you to look for just a minute. This gives you an idea of how our federal funds have compared to the state and local money that we have in Lawrence County. From 2011, you can see that the federal money that we were receiving that year, 14.36%, compared to last year, federal had dropped to 11.22%. One thing I want you to know is that the right to education has been delegated to each state through the Constitution. And although in years past we have gotten anywhere from 8 to 9 to 10% in years past, they have increased it slightly But the accountability is that much greater. So the expenses that the local systems and the states have to meet federal compliance has increased. So although we are getting federal funds, as you can see, those funds over the years have dropped, and we are still required to meet those accountability efforts that we have to meet annually for the federal government. So we're tied by those compliance issues, but we still have to use federal funds and sometimes local and state funds to meet those things. Part of the requirements to get those federal funds, you're given an allotment of funds for different grant programs, which we're going to talk about briefly in a minute. But you get an allocated amount. In order to get those funds, you have to apply through an application process. That process is called the Consolidated Local Improvement Plan, and we call it the CLIP. So if you hear people talking about the CLIP, that's what we're doing. We're going to actually get your input in a little while by doing a survey to help guide us on what kind of things we can do to help improve instruction from your perception. We use a variety of needs assessments and things and compile that information. Needs assessments that we do with teachers and parents and administrators. We look at test data. We look at a wealth of data and try to get a total picture of where we are and identify our strengths and, as somebody said this morning, our opportunities, because they are opportunities for improvement. And I think that's a good way to look at that. One of the first federal programs Dr. Alligood has been working with for the last couple of years prior to her job change is Title I, Part A. It's an Elementary and Secondary Education Act. It's been around a long time, since 1965. The focus of this grant is on improving instruction of students. And it's built upon the poverty level, and you earn funding based on the poverty level in your community. We focus our Title I funds at our base level, at our elementary programs, East Lawrence Elementary, East Lawrence Primary School, Northwest and Southwest. And we also have added East Lawrence Middle School because the poverty percentage was over 75%. And that's one of the mandates, that if you have a school that has 75% poverty or greater, they are required to be served with Title I funds. We kind of take the philosophy in Lawrence County that it's like building a house. If you build a solid foundation, then what you build upon that foundation is going to hold true for a long time. We're trying to make sure that we put a good bit of our effort into the foundation of our younger grades. And as we build on those, we hope to strengthen our reading and math and language arts, science, and social studies instruction to be able to provide and meet the needs for those students as they go up. So if they have a good foundation, they will be more successful in the upper grades. We use the majority of our funds in Title I to pay for our staff. You can do that in a couple of ways. This is additional staff beyond what you earn for state and local funds. For instance, you might have 150 students in a grade. The state might say, based on your class size, you could have 8 teachers. Well, we could take title funds and maybe take 150 and divide by 9 and add an additional teacher, and that's called a class size reduction teacher. We reduce the class size but add it by adding an additional teacher. Another way might be to provide title support to students in the areas of reading, language arts, and math. So it may be that if I'm the title support teacher, I may pull out students from 2 particular grades. I may be working with literacy and math, and I give them extra support throughout the week to help improve their instruction in areas they're having difficulty with that supplements the regular classroom instruction. So you can use title funds that way as well. We also use Title I Part A funds to work on involving parents. That's a real big component of Title I. It's the parent involvement component. Now, Title IIA is a program that I've been working with for the last few years. Whereas the Title I focuses on the students, Title II focuses on the staff. So if we focus Title I money on the students and improving instruction there for them, Title II focuses on improving the teachers' and administrators' abilities to provide that instruction to students. Therefore, if you have greater increase, if you improve your instruction, your end result should be greater achievement. So the emphasis of Title II is all on professional learning and opportunities to help our leaders, paraprofessionals, and teachers grow in order to better meet the needs of students in the classroom. One of the initiatives we're doing with Title IIA is we are having a number of our teachers get the gifted endorsement. We're paying for them to go back to school. some people may feel like that may only benefit students that are in the gifted program. Well, actually, if you are in a class and the teachers have gifted training, that benefits every child in that classroom, not just the child who's eligible for gifted. So if you've got 25 students in there and there might be 3 that are eligible for gifted, everybody benefits from that high rigorous level of instruction. So those are some really good initiatives that we're using Title IIA funds for. One of the other grants that I work with is called Title VI-B. Title VI-B is a rural and low income grant. And we earn that based on a number of different sources of data, which I'll tell you about. But the initiative of Title VI-B is to support some of the other federal funds. So for instance, we could use Title VI-B to support some of the Title I initiatives that we've already got in place. Or it could be we want to add more to Title II, and you could use it for that, to build on what you're already doing. But Title VI-B has a little more flexibility on how we use it. The last few years before we started using SPLOST for some of the technology, we used a big chunk of that grant to buy technology for the classes. One of the ways that we earn funding on Title VI-B is based on data that comes out of the National Center for Education Statistics. They classify every school that's a public school in the United States in a code of 6, 7, or 8. And based on that classification, that can earn your district an eligibility for Title VI-B funds. And the initials are RLIS, and it's rural and low income schools. The other way that you can earn Title VI-B funds, they take the data from the census from 2000, and they compile it and update it annually. But if you have 20% or more of the children that are ages 5 through 17 and families that are coming from poverty incomes, then the district earns funding that way. Because what they're trying to do is they're trying to level the playing field. They're trying to make sure that students from areas of poverty have equal access to the instruction, just as areas that don't have as much poverty. So that's really the intent behind a lot of these grants, is to level the playing field.
Allen's Heating and Air is your licensed Amana equipment dealer. Trust Allen's Heating and Air to install and service your heating and air conditioning unit. Allen services all brands. With the purchase of a new Amana unit, you'll get a lifetime warranty on the compressor. Allen's Heating and Air. Call Sean Clark or any of his friendly staff at Allen's Heating and Air. Amana Heating and Air Conditioners. Last and last and last.
Title VI-B can be used, as I said earlier, on a number of different things. One of the things that I'm real excited about is the RightScore software that we're using Title VI-B funds for. We have a program through RightScore. It's a writing component. We use it for giving a pre-assessment and a post-assessment for all students in Lawrence County grades 2 through 10. The teachers give a pre-assessment. We send the data in and it's scored. That information comes back and it lets teachers know where a child is at that time with their writing skills. The teacher knows then how to differentiate the instruction based on the data that they have for their students. And then later on we measure it again to look to see where we are on growth. It gives real specific information that helps teachers guide their instruction. Very worthwhile activity. And next I'm going to turn it over to Stacy Sanders, and she's going to be talking about another federal program, IDEA.
This is the program, or the actual law, the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, that funds and supports special education. And as some of you know, and some of you may not know, special education serves students ages 3 through 21. We actually have to start identifying students when they turn 3 years old and they come into our schools. And then we serve them as long as they're eligible until they get a regular education diploma until the age of 22, so all the way through their 22nd birthday. Some of the services we provide under this act include the special education services through our certified teachers, also the services that our special education paraprofessionals provide, and then services from our therapists. That's occupational, physical, and speech therapy. That's also provided for our students. And one of the things we have to do with the funds that we get from the federal government is set aside a proportionate share. And what this is a certain formula that we have to use, and it's based off of numbers we get through FTE, but we have to set aside a certain amount of our money to provide the opportunity to identify and serve students that are eligible that attend either the private schools such as Trinity or the Mennonite school, or they're homeschooled and they live in the Lawrence County area. If they're eligible for our program, we provide those services with these funds until that money runs out. Once it runs out for this next school year, then we stop the services. So we may stop in January if we use all of that money, and then we'll start again the next school year. So if you hear information out there about, oh, Stacy is sending a speech therapist out there to Trinity, I am, and this is why. But when we use that funding up, then we stop the service. Child Find is another big responsibility that we have. The school system is responsible for trying to locate students that may be disabled, because we all know the sooner we can identify students, provide services, the better off they will be. So we do different things, giving information out. Our social workers help us a great deal with this. We get in contact with doctor's offices, with Head Start, other places such as that, send information out to the schools for parents to have, so we can help identify our students as soon as possible. And this year, the state is asking us to do something different as we're trying to plan how we're going to spend our federal funds. And it's the student success. Imagine the possibilities. And the whole focus on this is that students can graduate and be productive citizens. And that's all students. We know that all students can learn. And one of our requirements is to make sure our students with disabilities are getting access to that general curriculum, having a positive school environment, and then most importantly, also receiving that specialized service through our special education program. So our story here in Lawrence County, how do we look when we're talking about students with disabilities? I noted up here several different facts, but one of which, we have approximately 554 students that are identified in our program, approximately almost 70 special education teachers and therapists, and then we have about 46 special education paraprofessionals that help provide our service to our students with disabilities. And the next several slides, this is just a visual giving you information about our program. Here you can see what part of the pie we represent in terms of the enrollment for Lawrence County schools. And then I broke it up so you can see it by race. So that gives you more information, showing you the representation for the program in that way. And then also in terms of males and females. And this is representative of the state, that generally there are more males that are identified as having disabilities than females. We do believe in our program that all children can learn. So under that premise, we go forward and we look at, here in Lawrence County, this is the breakdown of the disability areas in Lawrence County. What's even more important, and I'm hitting on more and more this year, and we're going to pay close attention to, when we look at that breakdown, 80% of the students that are identified as having a disability in Lawrence County have an IQ, have the ability to learn, that is comparable to their regular education peers without disabilities. That's important information for us to go on. That means only 20% of the students we have identified in our special education program have IQs that are deficient. That's important information to think about, keeping that in mind as we look at our performance. This is just some information for you to have in terms of how the discipline actions break down and how our students may be handled discipline-wise. And then we're looking at the attendance, and this is the attendance for all students in Lawrence County, but I drilled it down a little bit further. Looking at our students with disabilities is concerning to me and to all of us, and we're working on this, about why we have more students with disabilities that have been out more than 15 days. Some of it could be medical reasons, it may be for some of our students. Then there's also that question, well, what part of that is dealing with discipline issues? We're not sure, but that's the information we're going to gather, and we're going to learn more about this next year. Another part of our federal regulation is that the state sets the target for 65% of our students with disabilities to be out in their regular classroom at least 80% of the day. Well, last year you'll see in Lawrence County we got it to 62%. So we have not met that state target yet, but you can see we're getting closer and closer to that. So we're excited about that. Now this is the percentages for our preschool disabilities. You can see that Lawrence County is not meeting that target. However, part of that's because Miss Millie, some of you know her, we only have one preschool disabilities teacher here in Lawrence County. And Miss Millie can't be everywhere at one time. So that kind of explains why our data looks the way it looks here for this. And then we are excited about our parent involvement perception data. We know the perception is sometimes the reality, or at least it is in the people that behold that perception. We're excited that our perception data that we got back from our parents was meeting the state target here in Lawrence County. So we were excited about that. And then the next several slides is just information about the proficiency for our students with disabilities. This is specifically reading for grades 3 through 8. You can see where Lawrence County ranks as compared to the state target. And then this is the same grade levels for the area of math. And then looking at the high school level, this is our reading language arts areas. And then for math, compared to the state target there. We're also looking at the dropout rate for our students with disabilities and how we relate to the state target. And then Part of what we're doing is we're responsible for not only the students while they're in our high schools, but once they leave, we are still responsible for what happens to our students with disabilities when they do graduate and they leave the high school. Well, that's where we're a part of the Heart of Georgia Transition Alliance. This alliance works really hard in making sure that our students have jobs or that they're getting into the technical schools, colleges, whatever it may be, so they can be productive citizens. So this organization helps us put kids in a way that they can be successful outside of high school. Again, we go back to that Lawrence County believes that all children can learn. So what do we need to do from this point forward? Over this next year, we're going to continue to identify our strengths, but also pay attention to our areas for opportunities of where we can improve ourselves. Look at the barriers that are keeping our students with disabilities from succeeding, and then prioritize those so we can improve our strategies for all of our students. And then we gathered this information from several of the reports, FT reports you see, the CCRPI, and then information from the State Department.
Title III is the next program, and I serve Lawrence County and the students by being the director of the Title III program. Part of this program, you'll hear it called the ELL program or ESOL, and these are students where English is their second language. This program is really growing in Lawrence County, and the presentation that I'm giving to you at this very moment is different than what I gave this morning, because in between this morning and this afternoon, my program grew even more. So these are students that come in to Lawrence County that speak a language, their home language is something, or first language, other than English. And we serve students through the languages of Gujarati, Korean, Taiwanese, Japanese, Spanish, and I think there's one more that I'm missing right now. It's not coming to me. But we serve various, not German yet, Korean. We serve Korean, and we're expecting some German students. So we're working with all these different students, and the WIDA standards are used in order to help these students become more English language proficient. The WIDA standards are weaved into the Common Core or Georgia Standards of Excellence, and with that, we're helping these students to facilitate the language learning as well as grow in their understanding of the standards.
Summertime grilling is here, and Piggly Wiggly has everything for the perfect barbecue. From our fresh produce to our quality cut meats, cut to order by our expert meat department. So when it's grilling time, it's Piggly Wiggly time. Fresh quality products, friendly hometown service, and a clean and safe environment to shop. Piggly Wiggly, a proud sponsor of our community.
This program is federally funded, as all the programs that we're describing to you today, and these services for the ESOL students also come up under a designation called immigrant. Under the Title III program, there's a federal definition of students that are considered immigrant, and if those students come in, it's kind of working with the ESOL program as well. Those students generally have immigrated to this country. The Title III Consortium is how we're served at this moment, because we're sort of classified as having a low number, but we are right at the cusp of the cutoff that we're no longer a low number district. When I say that, we're serving right as of today, this afternoon, between 60 and 70 students. And so far, every afternoon I get a report that we generally have more students. So that population is growing. But the students are held accountable for their progress and attainment for English proficiency. So they are still learning English, but you have to understand that some of the students that are coming to Lawrence County, especially with a lot of the businesses and with industry, we have quite a few students that speak absolutely no English whatsoever. I know one school, they have about 4 languages, and Japanese is their top language in that school of ESOL students. Title I Part C is very similar to the Title III, but they are different. A lot of times people get them confused. The federal government provides funding so that we can serve the migrant population that occurs in a lot of transient populations, especially when it occurs due to work. For example, in this area, a lot of it has to do with pine straw. So students that come in that are migrant can also be served under ESOL. And that's why sometimes people get it confused. A student can be a migrant student but have low English proficiency, where English is not the first language in the home, therefore they would also be served as ESOL. But every ESOL student is not necessarily a migrant student, and every migrant student is not necessarily an ESOL student. So sometimes these programs kind of get confused with people, but the funding is totally different. One of the goals of the migrant program is to make sure that students that have a lot of transiency, that have a lot of moves, that their education has very few gaps and the interruptions are not limiting their success. So a student goes, let's say, from Lawrence County and the programs that we have here, and they go to DeKalb County, we're to be in a position, or they come from DeKalb to Lawrence, in a position to provide for their needs where the curriculum seems seamless, even if they go from one state to another. Another program that I work with is called the Career Technical Ag Ed Program. We call it CTAE. A lot of people say, what is that? That's the Perkins program, but the former name for it, for some of those that are maybe my age, that are not quite as young as Miss Donna Sapp, they call it the Vocational Ed Program. So back in the day it was called the SHOP Program, Vocational Ed. And in Lawrence County, we serve quite a few students in these programs, and what you see on the screen are all the different programs that we have in our county. One of the biggest programs that seems to be in the highest demand would be our CNA program. And I was talking to one of the RNs that walked in that we pretty much had a 100% pass rate in the CNA program this past year, and we have more CNA students. These students are in the 11th grade when they earn their CNA certificate. So that's a big plus for them, especially when they get ready to apply for an RN program, when they want to enter Bachelor of Science in Nursing or RN program. Another high demand program, I said, was construction earlier with carpentry, but actually it's probably the automotive program where students leave us with certification in brakes and engine repair and exhaust system, heating and air with their automobiles.
Back in February, we had a visiting team come from Advanced Ed. We had 4 guests with us. The farthest one came from Arkansas, and he was a wealth of knowledge, and buddy, he cracked a whip. I tell you what, he came in and he turned everything upside down. But they came in and they interviewed 186 people. We had 49 business leaders and parents and teachers and administrators and board members and students. They interviewed everybody and tried to get a true picture of Lawrence County and education in Lawrence County. Also, they looked at data and documentation that we were presenting to them. They combed through this. They actually started doing that before they ever got on site. And that was a little awe-inspiring for some of us who worked so hard to put it together. But they looked at things based on 5 standards. Standard 1 was purpose and direction. Standard 2 was governance and leadership. That's pretty much what goes on in this office and with the board members. Standard 3 was instruction. Standard 4 was resources. And Standard 5 was data for continuous improvement. They took all of that, and they looked at all of those things, and they interviewed all those people, and they came up and said, okay, you're accredited, but we're not just going to say you're accredited. We're going to tell you what you've done a really good job on, and we're going to, of course, tell you some things that you need to work on if you want to maintain this accreditation. And so we were really looking forward to getting that list of what they think we need to work on, because we feel like that will kind of push us forward and get us to that place where we want our school system to be. I would say 2 powerful practices that they cited us with having was our RTI program in K through 5. They were very complimentary about our RTI program in K through 5. It's very systematic, it's run efficiently, and we're really targeting those students who really need some academic gains. So that was one of our powerful practices. And then the other one was our parent involvement. We do a lot of work with parent involvement, particularly at our elementary schools, our Title I schools. We also still reach out to parents in middle and high schools, and they really commended us for that. They were also impressed with the fact that we had 49 people come over here to be interviewed from our sect of parents. So that was very impressive, and they enjoyed hearing some of those results. Some things that they said we needed to work on were, they said, you guys collect a lot of data. We've seen a lot of data, turn a lot of data in. but there's really not a systematic approach to it. And that is one thing that we've come to realize in Lawrence County. We're probably most systematic at not being very systematic. So we have got to become a little bit more systematic at how we address things and how we look at things so that it looks a little bit more equitable across our whole district. And so we've been working on some of that. We did a lot of data work at our Aspire meeting this summer in preparation for our school improvement plans. Another big thing they said we need was a strategic plan. And that's why Dr. Pitkin is here this evening. She's our consultant who's leading us through our strategic planning process. A strategic plan is sort of considered to be, did you kill over her? She needs another, her iPad died.
It's trained.
Our strategic plan is sort of like a big umbrella, and it's going to house all of our other little plans. We've got school improvement plans, we've got system improvement plans, we have facility plans, we have technology plans, we have all sorts of things, but they're sort of all disjointed and non-systematic. And so we hope that this strategic plan will give us a great focus to make sure that all of us are sort of swimming in the right direction, or at least in the same direction. Communication. Communication is the big piece that they said we really need to work on in Lawrence County. We have 8 schools, 1 program, the Diamond Academy. We have almost 6,800 students, and we have all these teachers, and we're all running crazy all the time trying to get education done. And sometimes we fail to communicate to get that done as efficiently as possible. So we're working on that actually from our central office level. We started an all-staff newsletter we send out once a month to try to keep people informed of what's going on. We send all-call reports out. We try to do some various things to keep all of our constituents informed about what's going on in Lawrence County. And our technology plan. We talked about technology being a big, important piece in Lawrence County. We bought, as Holly said, these tablets through Title 6B. We bought a lot of technology through Title I, and all of those are our federal programs. This year, we just recently purchased 1,700 Google Chromebooks out of SPLOST money, and that will be used for instruction and testing. So we're really trying to put technology in the hands of our students, and that's exactly what our advanced ed folks said. You got all this great technology, and we see teachers demonstrating with it, but really, we need for you to kick that up a notch and actually put that technology in those students' hands. So we're trying to really equip those teachers with that so that they can actually use that technology in the classroom for instruction. I've said a lot, and they did say a lot. And a few other parting words that he left with us that were particularly, I guess, painful to me. He, our little fellow, when he reported out to me and to Mr. Johnson and to Ms. Dean, who were sort of leading the advanced ed process, Dr. Moore said, "It seems apparent to me that in Lawrence County you've got some great instruction going on. You've got some great education going on. But it seems like there's a big perception issue," and I think some of those perception issues came out in all the interviews. Parents, businesses, students, and there is that division between the east side and the west side. And so in Lawrence County, we're really trying to work on bringing our county together and being Team Lawrence County. We don't want any school to lose their identity, but we do want everyone to know that we are one team and we're working together for instructional improvement in Lawrence County schools. So that's something that we've really got to kind of hone in on and be a little bit cognizant of. Because I think throughout the years, I don't think there was necessarily an intention for that division to ever come about, but it sort of did morph into that. And so we want to make sure that we keep a focus on Lawrence County and moving Lawrence County forward to where we want to be. Also, he said, you guys need to work on controlling your message. We've read a lot of newspapers since we've been here, and we see a lot of non-positive press, and you've got some great things going on here. And so we've got to really work on pushing that forward, because it seems like the negative always wants to surface. And so we really do need to work on controlling our message. And so we're excited about having all of you out, and we had a packed house this morning, and we definitely want to send that message out to Lawrence County. We want to control our message, and we want everyone to know what kind of great school system we have here. Can we get better? Sure. Do we need to? Oh, yes. But we feel like we're on the right way, and we feel like that your help will only strengthen us in that improvement.